You have definitely experienced this before. That session where everything clicked. You were not thinking. You were not forcing. You were simply executing. Time seemed to disappear. Decisions felt automatic. Your emotions went quiet, and when the session ended, you looked at the clock in shock. Hours had passed like minutes. You were completely in the zone. But here is the problem. Most traders experience the zone by accident. They do not recognize the signs. They do not understand how it begins. Because of that, it comes and goes randomly. They are unaware that it is actually possible to enter this state intentionally. As a result, they spend most of their trading time outside the zone, struggling, overthinking, and constantly fighting themselves. Today, we are going to explore the 5 hidden signs that show you are entering the zone. Once you learn to recognize these signals, you can start creating the conditions that allow you to access this powerful state more consistently. The first sign is subtle but undeniable once you know what to look for. Time begins to behave strangely. You sit down to trade, begin executing your setups, and suddenly several hours have passed without you even noticing. It feels as if only a short moment has gone by. In other situations, the opposite happens. A single trade feels incredibly long because you are so present in the moment that every second feels stretched. Your normal sense of time begins to lose its grip. This phenomenon is known as time distortion, and it is one of the most reliable indicators that you have entered a flow state. Your perception of time changes dramatically because your mind is fully immersed in the present moment. Imagine Marcus trading his usual session. He is focused, calm, and executing his setups exactly as planned. There is no rush and no anxiety. Everything feels smooth and controlled. He takes a trade, manages it, exits, and quickly reviews the result. Another setup appears. He takes it, manages it, exits again. The rhythm feels effortless. He is not checking the clock. He is not thinking about lunch. He is not wondering how much time remains in the session. His entire attention is on the process. Eventually, his alarm goes off, signaling that his trading window has ended. Marcus looks at the clock in surprise. It feels as if he just started, yet hours have already passed. That is the zone. This happens because the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for tracking time and planning the future, becomes less active. Your awareness moves completely into the present moment. There is no past and no future occupying your thoughts. There is only what is happening right now. This matters because it gives you a clear signal. If you are constantly checking the clock during your trading session, you are not in the zone. If you keep thinking about when you can stop trading, you are not in the zone. If every minute feels slow and heavy, you are not in the zone. The zone requires complete presence, and complete presence naturally changes your perception of time. The next time you sit down to trade, pay attention to your relationship with time. Are you watching it, or are you fully inside it? However, time distortion alone is not enough to confirm that you are in the zone. The second sign appears in the way you make decisions. When you are outside the zone, decisions feel difficult. You see a setup and begin analyzing it from every possible angle. You second-guess yourself. You wait for additional confirmation. You hesitate. When you finally enter the trade, doubt immediately appears. You wonder whether it was the right entry or if you should have waited longer. This is analysis paralysis. Every decision feels heavy and exhausting. But when you enter the zone, something shifts completely. Decisions become effortless. Imagine Sarah staring at her charts. A setup appears that matches her criteria. Instead of taking it, she begins searching for more confirmation. She checks the volume. She looks at the trend. She analyzes the higher time frame. She reviews the RSI. Minutes pass while she continues to analyze. Eventually, she takes the trade, but by then the move has already happened. The market reverses and her stop loss is hit. She feels frustrated because she spent too much time inside her head. Now imagine Jordan looking at the exact same setup. Within seconds, he enters the trade. There is no hesitation and no internal debate. The decision feels automatic. It is not reckless and it is not impulsive. It is simply clear. Jordan was in the zone. In this state, the slow analytical part of the brain steps aside, and the intuitive pattern recognition system takes over. This does not happen randomly. It only becomes possible after thousands of hours of experience. Over time, your brain begins to recognize patterns instantly. Your expertise becomes encoded at a deeper level. If you have watched charts for thousands of hours, you understand what this feels like. Certain price movements immediately tell you something even if you cannot fully explain it with words. Your confirmations might be present. Yet something in the movement tells you the trade will likely fail. That intuitive understanding comes from long observation and deep familiarity with the market. The difference between Sarah and Jordan is not intelligence. The difference is their mental state. Sarah tried to force the decision. Jordan allowed the decision to appear naturally. That is the second sign of the zone, effortless decision-making. When you see the setup, you simply know. There is no internal argument and no prolonged hesitation. But if you constantly, why wrestle with every decision and analyze until the opportunity disappears, you are outside the zone. No amount of additional analysis will bring you into it. Only presence will. This leads to the third sign. When you enter the zone, your emotions become quiet. They do not disappear completely. They simply become calm and stable. Outside the zone, trading often feels like an emotional roller coaster. A winning trade produces excitement and a surge of dopamine. You feel powerful and confident. Then a losing trade arrives, and your emotions crash. Frustration, anger, and disappointment appear. Your energy swings wildly with every outcome. In the zone, those emotional spikes disappear. Imagine Chris trading during a session. He takes a winning trade and celebrates immediately. He feels a rush of excitement and messages his friends about the profit. A short time later, he takes another trade that loses. His mood instantly crashes. He slams the desk in frustration and feels terrible. His nervous system is constantly moving between highs and lows. By the end of the session, he feels completely drained. Now consider Alex trading during the same conditions. He takes a winning trade and calmly records it in his journal. Then he moves to the next opportunity. Another trade hits his stop loss. He records the result and continues. His emotional state remains stable. There are no extreme highs and no dramatic crashes. Alex is fully engaged in the process, but he is not emotionally attached to individual outcomes. That emotional stability is the zone. When you enter this state, the emotional center of the brain becomes quieter. The amygdala, which normally triggers fear and greed, becomes less active. You are still aware and focused, but you are not being controlled by your emotions. You observe the trade rather than becoming emotionally trapped inside it. This creates remarkable consistency. You can take multiple trades in a row, some winners and some losers, without your mental energy fluctuating wildly. Your focus stays steady, and your execution remains disciplined. If you finish a session feeling emotionally exhausted, you are likely outside the zone. But if you finish calm and clear, there is a good chance you were inside it. Another sign appears when your environment begins to fade away. Normally, when traders sit down at the charts, their attention is constantly pulled in multiple directions. They check social media to see what others are saying. They open chat groups. They read news updates. They search for confirmation from analysts and influencers. Their attention becomes scattered. But in the zone, external noise becomes irrelevant. Imagine Taylor entering a trade and immediately opening social media to see what others think. Some traders are bearish while others are bullish. Conflicting opinions create doubt. She begins questioning her analysis and exits the trade early. The market continues moving in the direction she originally expected. She missed the opportunity because her focus was divided. Now imagine Riley trading under the same conditions. Her phone is on silent, social media is closed. News feeds are off. It is just her and the charts. When a setup appears, she takes the trade, manages it, and exits according to her plan. She has no idea what other traders are saying, and it does not matter. Her confidence comes from her own preparation and experience. When you are in the zone, external validation is unnecessary. Your focus becomes singular. You trust your process rather than the opinions of others. If you constantly search for confirmation from outside sources, you are not in the zone. The zone is an internal state that cannot coexist with constant external distractions. Finally, the last sign is one of the strangest experiences. Your awareness of your body begins to fade. Normally, your body continuously sends signals to your mind. You notice hunger, thirst, discomfort, or fatigue. You feel the chair beneath you. Your back might start hurting. These sensations constantly compete for your attention. But when you enter the zone, these signals become quiet. You become so immersed in the task that your physical awareness fades into the background. Imagine Morgan trading during a session. After a short time, she begins noticing discomfort in her chair. Soon she feels hungry and starts thinking about food. Later, she realizes she needs to stand up and stretch. Her attention keeps shifting away from the charts. Now imagine Casey trading during the same period. She becomes completely immersed in the market. Her attention remains locked on the charts. Hours pass and she barely notices her physical sensations. When the session finally ends, she suddenly realizes she has not eaten or even had water. Her consciousness was entirely focused on the task. That is another sign of the zone. This does not mean you should ignore your physical health in the long term. Hydration, nutrition, and breaks are extremely important. But during deep immersion, your awareness naturally shifts away from the body and toward the activity you are performing. If physical discomfort constantly distracts you, you are probably not in the zone. The zone requires total immersion, where your entire attention becomes locked into the task. So these are the 5 signs that reveal you are entering the zone: time distortion, effortless decision making, emotional stability, the disappearance of external noise, and fading awareness of the body. When all of these signs appear together, you are deeply immersed in a powerful state of focus. But the question everyone asks is simple: how do you enter the zone intentionally? The first requirement is skill. The zone rarely appears for beginners because you cannot flow through an activity you do not yet understand. Consistent practice is essential. Your strategy must become deeply familiar so that execution begins to feel automatic. When the rules of your system are clear, your mind does not need to waste energy thinking about them. That mental space becomes available for deeper focus on execution and observation. This clarity allows you to feel the rhythm of the chart and respond naturally when your setup appears. The second requirement is the right level of mental arousal. If the task feels too difficult, anxiety appears. If it feels too easy, boredom appears. The zone exists in the middle of those two extremes, where you are both challenged and capable. The third requirement is clear intention before the session begins. You must know exactly what setups you are looking for and what rules you will follow. Ambiguity destroys focus, but clarity creates the conditions where the zone can emerge. When you approach your session with preparation, discipline, and complete focus, the chances of entering the zone increase. For this very reason, instead of maintaining full focus, you may unconsciously begin trading in an energy-saving mode. When that happens, things that would normally never escape your attention start slipping past you. Important details go unnoticed simply because your mind is operating at partial capacity. So you must find ways to include yourself in your edge. Find ways to express your intuitions and experiences. Include them in your system and rules so that you can trade more actively and consciously. When I was trading 100% mechanically, my system was working, but I was not truly part of it. Yes, I was profitable. And at that time, profitability was the most important thing. But once I learned how to properly include my C, self, and my experience inside that mechanism, everything improved significantly. There are also specific triggers that help the zone appear. One of them is ritual consistency. The same morning routine, the same pre-session preparation, and the same environment. When these elements repeat consistently, your brain begins to recognize the pattern. That recognition relaxes the mind. Your brain essentially says, "We are doing this again," and it slips into the focus state much more easily. Another important trigger is autonomy. You must be in control, following your own plan, not someone else's. Ownership creates immersion. If you are simply copying trades from others, the zone will not appear. You must take responsibility for the process and make the decisions yourself. For this very reason, if you trade completely mechanically, you may still be profitable, but you will rarely become exceptional. More importantly, you will not fully benefit from your market experience and intuition. A more detailed discussion about this topic will come in a separate video. Just as there are triggers that help create the zone, there are also factors that destroy it. Multitasking destroys the zone instantly. Humans are not truly capable of multitasking when deep focus is required. You cannot be on social media and in the zone at the same time. You cannot have the television running and expect deep concentration. One task and full attention. That is the requirement. Another powerful zone killer is outcome focus. If you sit down thinking, I need to make a certain amount of money today, you are already attached to the result. The zone requires complete focus on the process. Let go of the outcome and concentrate only on executing your plan. When your attention remains on execution, the zone becomes much more likely to appear. You must prepare the environment so that it can emerge naturally. Interruptions are another major obstacle. Someone walking into your room, phone notifications, incoming emails, or random distractions can break the state instantly. Protect your trading session time. Treat it like sacred ground where interruptions are not allowed. Fatigue is another major enemy of the zone. You cannot enter deep focus when you are mentally or physically exhausted. Rest is not optional. It is a prerequisite. If you feel drained, it is better to skip the session and wait until your mind is refreshed. The zone requires energy, and when your energy is depleted, entering that state becomes extremely difficult. As you can see, the truth is that the zone is not magic. It is a neurological state associated with flow and peak performance. When the right conditions align, this state naturally appears. Skill combined with challenge, clarity, and deep focus creates the foundation. To summarize, you cannot force the zone to appear, but you can create the conditions where it is most likely to emerge. When those conditions align, the experience changes completely. Time begins to warp, decisions flow naturally, emotions become quiet. External noise fades away, awareness of the body disappears. In that state, you trade at your absolute best. It will not happen every single day, but it will happen more often once you recognize the signs and learn how to build the environment that allows it to appear. That is the real edge. From today onward, start removing the things that keep you away from the zone. If certain habits or distractions constantly break your focus, and teach you ways to eliminate them. Trading is serious work. It demands full attention and complete commitment. Never multitask while trading. Put your phone on silent. Handle any responsibilities or potential distractions before the session begins. Give yourself completely to the work so that the work can reward you. Do not trade using only half of your capacity. Make sure you use all of it, and when the session ends, make sure you rest properly so you are ready for the next day. As mentioned earlier, entering the zone becomes extremely difficult when you are tired and exhausted. Everything becomes better in the flow state, and this state can be accessed more consistently when you approach trading the right way. As you continue developing as a trader, you will begin to realize that the zone is not just a pleasant experience. It is actually one of the most powerful advantages you can develop. Many traders spend years searching for the perfect indicator, the perfect strategy, or the perfect entry model, but they completely ignore the mental state in which those tools are used. A strategy used in the wrong mental state can easily fail, even if it is statistically profitable. On the other hand, a simple strategy used in the right mental state can produce remarkably consistent results. This is why mastering your focus and learning how to enter deep concentration is just as important as learning technical analysis. Professional performers in every field understand this. Athletes call it being in the zone. Musicians experience it during performances. Programmers call it deep work. Scientists call it flow state. Regardless of the name, the experience is remarkably similar. When it appears, your mind operates with exceptional clarity and efficiency. For traders, this state is particularly valuable because markets require fast recognition, disciplined execution, and emotional stability. When these elements align, trading becomes smooth rather than stressful. One important thing to understand is that the zone cannot be chased directly. The more you try to force it, the more it tends to disappear. Instead, the correct approach is indirect. You focus on preparing the conditions that allow it to appear naturally. Start with your environment. Your workspace should support focus rather than distract from it. A clean desk, a comfortable chair, and a well-organized screen setup can make a bigger difference than many people realize. When your environment is cluttered or chaotic, Your mind subconsciously absorbs that chaos. Silence is also extremely valuable. If possible, create a quiet trading environment where external noise is minimized. If that is not possible, many traders find that neutral background sounds or instrumental music can help maintain concentration without pulling attention away from the charts. Lighting also matters. Harsh lighting or a completely dark room can create discomfort and fatigue over time. A balanced, comfortable lighting setup helps maintain mental clarity for longer sessions. Another important factor is preparation before the session begins. Many traders sit down at their charts without any mental transition. They jump directly from daily distractions into trading decisions. This sudden shift makes deep focus much harder. Instead, create a short pre-session ritual that prepares your mind. This could involve reviewing your trading plan, checking key levels, or simply sitting quietly for a few minutes to clear your thoughts. The purpose is to signal to your thoughts. The purpose is to signal to your thoughts, brain, that it is time to focus. Over time, repeating this preparation routine trains your mind to enter a focused state more quickly. Your brain begins to associate those actions with the beginning of deep work. Another powerful habit is reviewing your previous trades before starting the new session. This does not mean obsessing over profits or losses. Instead, review your execution quality. Did you follow your rules? Did you respect your risk management? Did you remain emotionally stable? This type of review strengthens discipline and reminds your brain that trading is a structured process rather than a series of random decisions. Risk management also plays a huge role in maintaining the zone. If your position sizes are too large, emotional pressure increases dramatically. When too much money is at risk, fear and greed quickly dominate your thinking. In that environment, deep focus becomes almost impossible. Proper risks management reduces that pressure. When you know that a single loss will not damage your account or your confidence, it becomes much easier to remain calm and focused on execution. Confidence also develops gradually through repetition. Every time you follow your rules correctly, your brain receives evidence that the system works. Over time, that evidence builds trust in your process. That trust is what allows your intuition to operate without constant interference from doubt. Another overlooked aspect of entering the zone is physical health. Your brain is part of your body, and its performance depends on physical conditions. Sleep, hydration, and nutrition directly affect cognitive performance. A tired brain struggles to concentrate. A dehydrated brain processes information more slowly. Poor nutrition can cause energy crashes that destroy focus in the middle of a session. This is why many professional traders treat their health routines as seriously. Their trading strategies, regular sleep schedules, light exercise, and proper hydration can significantly improve mental performance during trading sessions. Breaks are also important. Even though the zone can last for long periods, the brain eventually needs recovery time. Short breaks between sessions help reset your attention and prevent mental fatigue. During those breaks, step away from screens. Stretch your body, walk around, or simply allow your eyes to rest. These small actions help your mind recharge so it can return to the charts with fresh focus. Another powerful practice is journaling. Writing down your thoughts, decisions, and emotions after each session helps develop self-awareness. Over time, patterns become visible. You may notice that certain habits consistently improve your performance while others repeatedly cause mistakes. This awareness is extremely valuable because the zone is closely connected to self-control. The more clearly you understand your own behavior, the easier it becomes to maintain disciplined execution. Patience is another essential quality. The zone often appears during periods of calm observation rather than constant action. Many traders feel the urge to trade frequently, believing that more trades will lead to more profit. In reality, excessive trading often destroys focus and leads to poor decisions. The best traders understand that waiting is part of the job. They observe patiently until their setups appear. That patience preserves mental energy and allows the zone to emerge naturally when the right opportunity arrives. It is also important to accept that not every session will be perfect. Some days the market conditions are unclear. Some days your mind is simply not at its best. Accepting these realities prevents unnecessary frustration. When a session feels unfocused, the best decision may be to step away rather than forcing. Trades. Protecting your mental state is more valuable than forcing activity. Over time, as you develop discipline, experience, and self awareness, entering the zone becomes more frequent. You start recognizing the early signs more quickly. Your preparation improves. Your environment becomes more supportive of deep focus. Eventually, trading begins to feel less like a battle and more like a structured process that you understand deeply. At that point, the charts stop feeling chaotic. Instead, they begin to feel familiar. Movements that once looked confusing start to reveal patterns. Decisions become clearer. Execution becomes calmer. Execution becomes calmer. And when the zone appears, everything works together. Your knowledge, experience, discipline, and intuition combine into one smooth process. This is where trading performance reaches its highest level. Not because the market became easier, but because you became better prepared to interact with it. And when that happens consistently, trading transforms from a stressful activity into a focused professional craft, where your attention, discipline, and preparation create the real advantage. Be confident in that. Thank you for taking your valuable time to watch.